Hey everyone, I'm Tom and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over my reading plans for the halfway point of the year, June, and June should be a very interesting month. I have felt very invigorated in my reading here recently, so I have some big aspirations and some reads I'm really looking forward to. A lot of this is continuation of stuff that I have been reading. I was trying to wrap up some series or get to some like big checkpoints for me. So first off, we have got to talk about my return to Brandon Sanderson, and that is going to be with the Isles of Emberdark. I do love the way this book looks. I think the black with the gold and the black pages and everything look amazing. I have not read Sanderson since Wind and Truth, not because I didn't enjoy Wind and Truth. I feel like, maybe on the booktube space, I was a lot more positive than a lot of people when it came to Wind and Truth. But I did read all of the Cosmere that year. So I read, what is it, 30 something entries of the Cosmere all in 2023 to be ready for Wind and Truth. And I actually backed the Secret Project originally. That was kind of like why I wanted to get into it. And so I read basically all of that, or maybe did Wind and Truth come out the next year or something? I don't know. I read all of the Cosmere basically the first year I did booktube. And so it was a lot. And then after Wind and Truth, I was just like, I can take a little bit of a break from Sanderson, but it's been so long now that I feel like it is finally time to go back to it. I still watch the weekly updates and everything, and so just hearing him get further and further into the next Mistborn trilogy and all the stuff that's happening with the TV shows and movies and all that stuff is very exciting, and so it seems like maybe it's a good time to get back into it. This also follows a character who it might be my favorite short story. I don't know. I'd have to go and look, but I enjoyed this short story that this is kind of based, or not based around, but the worlds that are involved and everything there. So I think it will be a lot of fun to finally get back, read this really cool edition and all of that fun stuff, and just get back to Sanderson and see, how I feel about this one. I feel like not a lot of people, or I didn't see as much talk about this one when it came out compared to a lot of the other Cosmere stuff. And I think maybe a lot of people were just a little Cosmered out at the time. But like I said, very excited to see what happens there. Then next up, we are going to continue with my reading of Conan the Barbarian. So I don't know what specific short stories I'm going to read. I'd actually need to check with Jake at Nerd Level Rising. We've been following along in order. He has like 3 bind ups of all the short stories, so we've just been going along with that. And yeah, so we'll continue on with that. I don't know, like I said, which stories there are. I think the last thing we're going to read is the full-length novel from the second bind up, and that's like the only full-length novel, and then we'll be back to all short stories. So that is just kind of the general plan with Conan. It's been a very interesting experience. I think it's definitely had its ups and downs, but I'm looking forward to just like being able to mark that off. And I do already have like my next collection of short stories that I'm going to be reading at some point whenever we do finish Conan, which depending on how long or short they are, that process could go a little bit faster or not. Next up, and I'm very excited for this one. This will technically be the ending of a trilogy, even though there's more in the series, and that is going to be Morningstar by Pierce Brown. So, like I said, very excited to see how this trilogy concludes, because I know that there's stuff to come, but I feel like what I might be able to do is read this first trilogy, because Red God's not going to come out this year, which my original plan was to try to catch up to be caught up when Red God releases. So maybe what I can do is get to Morningstar, finish it off, maybe be happy with the conclusion, and then be patient enough to wait for what is the next one after Morningstar. Is that Dark Age, or is there one before Iron Gold? Is maybe the fourth one? It doesn't really matter, but maybe I'll wait until we have a firm date on Red God or whatever it is before I continue on. But it'll just kind of depend on how I feel about this. And honestly, if you think it's a good place to wait, because I don't want there to be a giant gap between books 6 and 7, I think, as they are. So I don't know if you think this is like a very solid ending point and then I can start again. I would love to know, because I have enjoyed the series. It hasn't blown me away or anything, but it's been really, really good. So I could see myself going one way or the other, where I really just kind of want to keep going and continuing. But I could also see where, like, okay, I'm pretty satisfied. I can wait until I can fulfill my original plan for Red God. Next up is, it's not the end of a trilogy, but I have heard people describe it that way, and that is going to be the third book in the Dune saga, and that is Children of Dune. And the reason I say that is I have heard people say you can read Dune, the first Dune, and then what is it? Dune Messiah, and then Children of Dune, kind of as like its own little 3-book grouping. And so I'll be very curious to see how I feel about that. It was so nice to be back into this world when I read Dune Messiah. Dune Messiah it wasn't as good to me as Dune, but it was just so nice to be back. And so I'm so excited to see what happens here. I feel with how Dune Messiah ends, that like I have all of these questions, and I'm really excited to see what happens in this one. I have a feeling that I'm going to end up reading at least the first six. I think is where like is that what the golden path is, that people say you can kind of stop there at the end of that book. And that's probably as I sit here right now, that is going to be my plan in the long run. But very, very excited to see. I don't really know if there's a big time jump or anything. I'm assuming there is, just based on how Messiah ends. And yeah, I mean, I'm reading this. I'm hoping part of the reason why I'm reading this is because obviously the new movie's coming out, and I'm assuming they're going to pull some things from Children of Dune into it, or there's a possibility of them too doing that. So I kind of want to be able to have like as much knowledge as possible for the movie when I go into it, because I have really enjoyed the movies, but I also really enjoyed the book. So it's just kind of like a win-win situation for me. Then next up, and this is a series that I think I'm really, really in the minority of people who enjoyed the first one. I really think it was like me and Alan from the Library of Alexandria both really enjoyed the first book, and the Captive Wars. I don't know if it's a trilogy or just series, but this was the follow-up to The Expanse by James S.A. Corey, and this book is The Faith of the Beast. So this is the second full-length novel. There was also a short story that came out after the first one, which was The Mercy of the Gods. There was also a novella called Live Suits, and I think after reading Live Suits, I have kind of like a whole, not conspiracy, but just like a thought process of like, okay, so people went into this wanting The Expanse. The first book does not feel anything like The Expanse. I do actually think that like some of the characters in that first book are lacking in everything. But then you get through that, and like I said, I still really enjoyed it. I thought there were some really cool things, like that alien first contact kind of stuff that happens in that story worked super well for me. And then you read Live Suits, and you realize this is completely different than anything I thought the series was going to be. And that novella just like holds this, like, to me, this super important thing that's going on in the series that you don't know about unless you read this kind of, I don't want to say throwaway, but this thing that's super easy to miss. And so after reading that, I'm super excited for The Faith of the Beast. And yeah, I mean, like I said, no, I'm in the minority of this. I know a lot of people just, this did not click with them, and it's definitely not The Expanse. So like, don't go into this thinking The Expanse, but with how the first one ended, and with Live Suits, with the novella and everything, I'm super excited to see what James S.A. Corey, I think, what is it, Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank can bring here, because The Expanse is one of my favorite series. So if they can even get close to that here with The Captive's War, that would be absolutely fantastic. And then the last thing up is something that I just plan on starting. I don't think I'll be able to finish it, but you never know. Maybe I will. Maybe it'll be another really good reading month. But that is going to be, and I love this cover I made for this one. This is The Initiate's Trial by Janny Wirtz. This is book 9, I believe, if I can count correctly, in the Wars of Light and Shadow series, which is just a crazy thing to think of, that I'm this close to the end of this series. I feel like I've been reading it for, well, I did start it a while ago, but this year, you know, being a part of the read along, it really gave me the drive to like really kind of keep going with it when maybe I would have taken longer breaks from it. And it has just been super rewarding. Storm Fortress, as I'm recording this, I'm technically not finished with it yet, but Storm Fortress has been amazing. It is no holds bar. It is going crazy. And I shouldn't be surprised, because that is the end of an arc. And Janny knows how to do endings. That is 100% the truth. I mean, she knows how to do so many things when it comes to writing. She's absolutely amazing. But Storm Fortress is just, I mean, it is rocking. It is just, it's so good. So it's going to be hard for me not to just want to, as we sit here now, dive right into Initiate's Trial, but I will want to start that there, just because I do like to take my time with these books. I try to do about an hour a day with them, which for me is about there's one of its chapters is what I try to get into a day. So depending, I don't know how many chapters that one is, but you know, if I can do about one of those a day, sometimes that is close to like 20-ish days. Just like, kind of depends. And that's if that's if I actually get that hour in every day, which on the weekends I'm horrible about. I just don't do it. But that is my reading plans for the month of June. It's crazy that we are this far into it. Like I said, it's a lot of follow-up stuff, so not a whole lot of like new or things that you can just kind of like jump into if you haven't been reading. But I would love to know what you have planned. Is there anything exciting, anything new coming out? I'm really bad about missing some things. And I don't think it's June, but there was a buddy read that I said I would be a part of for June. And if that's the case, I will rearrange this TBR and fit that in there. But I don't think that book comes out until September. So just need to mental note to myself here. But yeah, definitely let me know what you're reading down below in the comments, or as always, you can come hang out in the Discord that is linked in the description below. That's all for me. And remember, read what you want when you want.